Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is remove the filter. And the reason you're pulling the filter out is because it sets in your pump. So your pump won't come up out of there until you got your filter out. And then we're going to come right up here and we're going to take out those 10mm bolts right around the pump. Guys, whenever I'm putting in a converter on one of these 7.3s, I always like to use a heavy duty billet style converter, and they'll just handle the pressure of that 7.3 diesel a lot better. So anyway, I don't know what else to say. Okay, so to get this pump out of here, you'll look right down in 2 bolt holes. You will have 3/8 threads, and you'll just thread a bolt down in them. Let me get a bolt and we'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so we ended up using the bolts out of a 4L60 bell housing, and they worked out really good. So we're going to pull this up out of here. Alright, so you see we just tuck a crowbar, stick right down into the sides like that, and pry up on it, and it'll pull that pump right up out of there. All right, let's turn it over and pull the pump apart. Okay, so you'll have to remove these bolts before you can get that pump apart, of course, but just to let you know, go ahead and pull these bolts out, and then flip the pump over, and you are going to take out all of these 10mm bolts in the back of this pump. Don't mess with these Torx bolts that's holding that stator on. All you're after is the 10mm bolts. Alright, when you get that last bolt out, that's what's going to happen. That pump cover is going to fall down. Just remove your pump bolts out of the way. Now guys, on this gear, I want to show you. When you pull this gear up out of here, you'll see how that gear has those flats. Those go towards the torque converter. When you go back in with this, you'll go just like this. It'll be flat across the top. If it's like this, then it's going to be in there wrong. You see this dot? That dot goes up when you're putting this back together. So, alright guys, we're going to knock this pump seal out. All I'm doing is putting the screwdriver right down in behind it there. Give a couple hits and get that out of there. Alright guys, so what you'll do is you'll knock your bushing in. You'll knock it from the inside of the pump towards the outside of the pump. If you'll notice, right down inside on the 4R100, you'll see this slip right here on this. That's as far as you want to put that bushing down to, is right down to that lip. Just get it down against that lip, and then you'll be good to go. Okay guys, so I've knocked the pump bushing in. There's still a little gap between the bushing and this edge, but I am even up here. I'm flush with this here. So what I'm going to do, or what I like to do, is I'll take a socket like this. I don't know what you'd use if you didn't have a socket like this. Just drop it down in there and just hit that a couple of times. And you see how that bushing dropped down where it needed to be. Okay, so I've turned my pump over, and you'll see right here this gap. What you'll want to do is just take a screwdriver and hit that. You have one on this side and one on this side. Hit that with the screwdriver and lock that bushing into place so that it can't spin. And that's what it should look like when you're done locking those two tabs in. Okay guys, we got the gear in there. We're going to put just a little bit of transmission fluid right around that gear. Then we're going to put the pump stator on. Line this pump stator up. You just kind of have to look at the boat pattern when you're lining this stator up. Kind of see that you got two boats over here like this, and you got two boats here, and that's the best way to line that stator up. All right. And you just start putting your pump boats in. Alright guys, we kind of changed positions here. You can see I haven't tightened up my pump boat yet. What I'm going to do is, like I told you, I was going to go old school with this. This is just a band for duct work in a house, and just go buy you a band at Lowe's or somewhere like that, and you'll just slide it right down over the pump. Alright guys. Looking down through the boat hole right there, you can see that that I have it lined up really good. I'm going to get this thing out of alignment so that you can see what you don't want. This is the way you want to look when you look down in that boat hole for the pump. When the cover is off a little bit, you'll see what it's going to look like. Okay guys, so I'm looking down in that boat hole, and watch when I turn this cover. You see that ledge go away down in there? That's what you want. You want it to be smooth, not like that. You want it to be smooth like that. That means that you have the pump cover and the stator both matching. I'm gonna back this phone out. I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm looking at. I'm looking right down in that boat hole right there. And let's do it again, so you'll know when you're looking down in there. If you see that ledge like that, then that's wrong. That's not the way it's supposed to go. That needs to be, see, that's the other way. So when I turn it back and get it true, then it looks smooth down through that bore. And I'll show you what I'm doing. All I'm doing is putting a screwdriver and I'm pulling back and forth and changing the way that bore sets. So that's the main thing right there, is to have that nice and smooth. Okay, so now that I've got the pump cover lined up with the stator, I'm just going to tighten this up so that it doesn't move while I'm tightening my boats down. So I've got that good. A lot of times I will drop a big screwdriver down in there, a big Phillips head screwdriver. Another thing that you can use is a 3/8 boat. I've got a 3/8 boat, and you can just drop it right down in there, kind of hold it so that it doesn't move. Okay, when you put your gasket down in there, guys, best way to line it up is right here by this hole on the right side of the case. And then everything else, you can just look across and see that everything else is lined up. Alright, and at this point I like to take and put a little bit of assembly goo right around the outside edges of that case. Alright guys, I like to reach down in here with a magnet and pull this bearing out and put it on the back of the pump. Alright, so that bearing we just pulled out, this one here, we are going to put some assembly goo right there, and we're going to slide it in. It goes just like this. You see the back of it, looks like got the race back there, and it goes just like that. Sits on there just like that. So. Alright, once again, your thrust washer, plastic thrust washer. I'm going to put some assembly goo right there, and we're going to drop it right down. Those tabs go in these holes. There's 2 tabs, 1 hole in each side. Drop it right down in there. Push down on it, just like you did the bearing. Make sure that it sticks to that assembly goo. Okay, so we're going to take off this clamp. Just drop it down off of there. I like to go around and just feel the edges of it, make sure that they feel about the same. Now we're going to put on the O-ring. Got the O-ring on. Make sure the O-ring doesn't roll anywhere. Sometimes these O-rings, I'm going to show you, sometimes that O-ring will roll like that. It'll cause you a lot of trouble. Make sure that that O-ring does not roll like that. Alright guys, so I got my pump bolts ready. I've got 2 Phillips head screwdrivers to line up with. Some people put dial pins in and line it up. Make sure that your shaft is in the transmission before you start this. And then what you want to do is just drop your pump right down in there. Take your screwdrivers, just kind of position it where it needs to be. At this point you can put a couple of bolts in, but you don't want to start tightening. Let me show you what you want to do once you get a couple of bolts in. I'm going to put a few bolts in. These bolts will just barely catch threads there. And then just get up on the pump. And if it doesn't do this, then you need to start back over and get this lined up. Just put your weight on it, and you should be able to pop it down in there. If you can't pop it down in there, then you don't have this cover lined up with your stator, and it'll be hanging on this edge. And I've seen people do that, and they tear this edge up. Their seal blows back out, and their bushing wears out on one side because they're not in there lined up. So make sure that that pops down in there like that, and you're good to go. You can start tightening up your pump bolts and finish this thing up.